I am glad to welcome all kind people to my channel. For those who would like to communicate more closely with us and deepen their knowledge about life, human nature and the Mother of Gods and people, the great goddess Kali, we have created a channel in Telegram. The link is in the description of the video. For those who want to take an active part in the construction of a temple dedicated to the goddess Kali and also support our YouTube channel, details and links are also attached. So, today we have an interesting topic. It is dictated by a question that one of the regular viewers of the channel named Anne asked me. Anne has been following the spiritual path of development in this life for a long time, as I understand it, and she wants to know how to learn to love people. Yes, that's right. Her question sounds exactly like this. How can I learn to love people? The presence of the question shows two things. Firstly, the lack of knowledge about how to do it, and secondly, the desire to do it. Let's start with the desire. Anne wants to love people, but she doesn't know how. I understand it very well because people, for the most part, are so mediocre and vicious that it is somehow impossible to love them. I want to, but I can't. Look around. Do you want to love others? Do you love them? No, of course not. And why should you love them? Isn't that right? I don't want you to judge yourself for not loving others. By others, I don't mean your family members, of course. It's natural. Besides, these dislikes of yours for them is mutual. They don't like you either, and try only to use you, just like you do them. This is capitalism. This is Kali Yuga, the era of the triumph of ignorance and selfishness. Then you will ask me, is it necessary to love people at all? My answer is, it's good if you can do it, but you, in any case, are not obliged to do it. I will explain. Love is a state of human consciousness. Hatred is also a state. Joy, sadness are all different states. To love, you need to put yourself in a certain state. For example, to convince yourself that a particular person is very good or very unhappy and therefore this person deserves your love. If you decide so, you will feel love for him or for her. Objectively, a person can be neither good nor unhappy. Your view of him, your ideas about him, make him in your eyes either worthy of your love or not. Therefore, it's all about you. More precisely, in your view on life and a habit of looking at things. If we go even deeper, we will see that everything that happens to us, all of our love, hate, joy, and disappointment is all a product of our mind. We think, we live and act on the basis of what our mind tells us. The mind is a mechanism conditioned by the environment, upbringing, and education. The mind is very necessary and useful thing, but As we live in Kali Yuga, in the age of victorious capitalism, the essence of which is the exploitation of man by man, parasitism, and squeezing the juices out of some for the welfare of others, then the environment, upbringing, and education in such a society are flawed, distorted, degenerate. Hence, a person's mind becomes selfish and fixated only on receiving pleasures and benefits from other people, and on receiving in such a way that he himself gives as little as possible and receives as much as possible from others. That is, the basis of the mind is the desire for an unequal exchange based on deception and lies. The worst thing is that the mind doesn't only lie to others. He deceives first of all his master, his bearer, giving him genuine values for what has no value. And what has no value but on the contrary destroys a person, the mind presents such things as valuable and as the only ones worthy of attention. Do you know what I mean? Yeah? So, loving people in the age of victorious capitalism is not profitable. Love implies giving, the sacrifice. Love is built on trust and acceptance. In a world where everything is riddled with deception and a beautiful wrapper often hides ugly content, it is dangerous to love in such a world. You can be thrown, used, betrayed, deceived, robbed. Love is not just not profitable, love is dangerous. Look at the relationships between people. As so-called friendship and love is based on benefit. As long as there is benefit, there are relationships. As soon as the benefit ends, the relationship also comes to an end. Yesterday's friends and lovers become, if not enemies, then those with whom you no longer want to see or communicate. Isn't that right? This society, the whole system, is a big hospital for the insane. It's a mess. This is insanity. This is rot mixed with excrement, poured with chocolate vanilla sauce, and served on a beautiful dish with candles soaked in snake venom and chemicals from environmentally harmful enterprises. Where is the exit, the way out? How can those who want to love people like my listener Anne can do it? The solution to this question does not lie outside of man. It is inside him. If a person learns how to separate himself from this scoundrel, terrorist, and slave owner called mind, a person will be able to love other people. The first thing he can do after freeing himself from the tyranny of the mind is to love himself. People mistakenly think that they love themselves that way, but this is not the case. They are deceived. This mind convinces them that they love themselves by killing themselves to jobs and deceiving others only in order, for example, to eventually go to the Maldives and be no worse than some fool from social networks. The mind is a greedy huckster whose principles and methods cause disgust and vomiting. To set foot on the path of liberation from the dictates of this scoundrel, you must first learn to separate yourself from it. For the most, this is a titanic task, as they do not understand how this is even possible, as for them the mind and themselves are the same thing. This is the basis of all their slavery and all their delusions. So how to take the first step to freedom from the mind? With one simple technique. The technique is as simple as 2 by 2 and can be mastered even by a completely stupid person. All you have to do is to answer any thought that comes to your mind by asking the question, who did this thought come to? Naturally, the internal answer will be, to me. All you have to do after this is to ask yourself, who am I? But by no means answer this question. Whatever feelings, emotions, images come to you, ask, to whom does it come? But do not give an answer to this question. No matter how many thoughts come, deal with them all according to this scheme, without deviating either to the right or to the left. Not a step. It doesn't matter what thoughts come, bad or good, act strictly according to the scheme. In this way, you will learn to separate your mind from your true self. A direct consequence of this practice will be the appearance in your life of unprecedented peace and confidence that everything is fine and unfolding as it should. The more you practice, the greater the effect will be. This is the oldest and the most effective practice of liberation. The oldest and the most effective. So, the more you are centered in your true self, the more you will love yourself. By loving yourself, you will automatically be able to love others. You will not need to learn to love them. You will just be automatically able to do it because you will be full of inner peace and bliss. Love is just a state of consciousness. It is not something special. Why could holy people love people? Simply because they were centered on their inner self. The inner self, or Atman, is identical with Brahman, that is God. The opposite is also true. If you are centered on Brahman, that is on God, you will automatically be centered on the Atman. It is all too simple, so no one or almost no one believes it. Everyone is looking for some complex systems. So the mind deceives them, suggesting to them that there is no truth in simplicity. In fact, it is just the opposite. As for the second point, the desire to love people, I can say this. If you have a desire to love, it means that you have desire, not love. This is no love. There is no love. There is only desire. Let's face it. I assume that the desire to love is caused in you by some ideal image of yourself in a way that also necessarily includes the presence of love for other people in you. You're looking at Jesus, at Buddha, at Serafim Sarovsky, for example, who allowed two scoundrels to beat him almost to death with his own axe. Although if he wanted, he could easily cope with both and deprive them of their miserable, worthless lives by chopping off their lousy heads with this very axe. You want to be a great saint in your soul, a son or daughter of God Himself, and God, as you have heard, is love. Isn't that right, Anne? However, the Christian understanding of love is precisely the Christian understanding of it. It is not universal. According to the Bible, if they spit at you, beat you, throw mud at you, take away your last clothes, you need to forgive these geeks, give them everything you have, and tell God, humbly folding your hands, "Thy will be done." The ideal situation for every true admirer of the teachings of Christ is to end his earthly life as Christ. And do you remember how he finished it and what the good people did to him, whom he also loved probably, and ascended to heaven, to the teacher, where there is no illness, there is no sadness, but life is endless. I respect Christ, and I know for sure that he never said or did the lion's share of what is attributed to him. This teaching, Christianity, it arose much later than the events described in the Gospel and was aimed at establishing political and ideological domination over those peoples who adhered to the Vedic worldview. Here I will allow myself a small digression from the topic, quite small, but indirectly related to the topic. Think about it. If Christ hadn't forgiven the scoundrels who nailed him to the cross, moreover, he wouldn't have allowed this, but would have burned them all in the flames of his anger, or liquidated them in some other way, then we, all of humanity now, wouldn't have found ourselves in such a deplorable state of affairs. I was there, I remember. People approached him. They offered him to take power, but he refused. If he had taken power then and seized control over the biblical people, he would have been able to lead them, these people, away from the path of aggressive consumerism, let's call it so mildly, to the spiritual path. Christ had the power to do so, but did not use it. This was his meta-historical mistake, for which humanity has to pay to this day. Once again, it was not necessary for him to ascend to the cross. It was only his personal choice, dictated by his understanding of what love is. He could have foreseen where this choice of his will lead humanity. Many will take an example from him, saying to themselves, "Christ suffered, and he told us Many will want to be like him in suffering, thereby untying the hands of scoundrels for even greater crimes. Now, we are not talking about Christian love. Moreover, we believe that people should be treated the same way as they treat you, applying the principle, as they respond, so they will be responded. Christian love for scoundrels does not guarantee at all that scoundrels, seeing your love for them, will suddenly feel excruciating, unbearable remorse, and will rush to your feet asking for forgiveness. Seeing their impunity, they will become even more rooted in their ignorance and evil, and will bring you and others countless sufferings. The whole history of the last centuries is the clearest example of this. We believe that the manifestation of love for the villain will be the villain's destruction, or such a punishment of him that will put an end to his crimes once and for all. Let's remember Lord Krishna, who killed his uncle Kamsa. He killed him with his own hands, because Kamsa had killed 6 children of Krishna's parents, and kept these parents in prison for many years. Did Krishna have to deal with Kamsa in a Christian way? Forgive him. It was Krishna who led the armies of the sons of Pandu on the field of Kurukshetra, and it was thanks to him, Krishna, that all the 100 vicious sons of the blind king, the stupid Dhritarashtra, with their armies were eventually destroyed. And how many heads were cut off by the great Mother Kali? Countless numbers. Both Kali and Vishnu, the very gods, have taught and are teaching us that the only manifestation of love for a scoundrel can be the scoundrel's, complete physical destruction in this world, erasure from this world. Yes, the true manifestation of love for a scoundrel can only be his destruction. This is the highest form of love. By destroying criminals, traitors, and various scums, you become like the god, Kali and Krishna. Why? Because in this way you prevent them from further harming themselves, increasing even more the burden of their own karma. You just say to such a creature, "Stop. If you can't live like a human being, go to hell right now and be cleansed of your sins there. Then come and try to become a man again and live with dignity." Every year, Russia celebrates the 9th of May, the day of victory over the hordes of Nazis who came to our sacred lands then in June 1941. They came here to kill, rob, and destroy. If these scoundrels were met in a Christian way, neither I would be making this speech now, nor you would be listening to me. We would simply not exist. Do you know what I mean? It is necessary to love those who deserve it, this love, and those who do not deserve to be loved and are not necessarily. We live in a very interesting time, the time of tearing off masks, the time of the triumph of truth. Everything secret becomes clear. Evil is losing its strength every day. It is running out of steam. I feel how hard it is for it, deadly hard. It is necessary to help evil to go to the worlds of retribution as soon as possible, to push it there. Do you understand? To return to the state of bliss, you need to start regaining your lost divinity. As it is Shakti, a woman, who is the engine of change in this manifested universe, it is necessary to begin to honor and worship the Divine Mother in the form of the goddess Kali, who is responsible for the destruction of illusions and obstacles on the high path of spiritual development of man. I urge all viewers of my channel to take part in the construction of the first temple. The first temple in the whole Western world dedicated to the goddess Kali in Russia. I attach the bank details in the description of the video. Subscribe to my Telegram channel, distribute this video. Step by step we are going to victory on our field at Kurukshetra. Victory over modern Kauravas. Glory to Ma Kali.